All right, we're gonna answer this question. What are zeros? This is a very important concept starting in Algebra 1 and going forward in all other math classes that you will take. And a zero is simply where the graph touches the x-axis or where y equals 0. So these are the same things. It's just if we're looking at a graph, we can see it touching the x-axis. If we're looking at an equation, it's where y equals 0. Some other terms that you might hear them called roots. You might hear them called x-intercepts. I was going to just write intercepts there, but I'm going to be more precise. Okay, you might hear them called x-intercepts. You also might hear them called solutions. Okay, so all four of these words, zeros, roots, x-intercepts, solutions, those are all interchangeable. They all mean the same thing. We're all talking about where does the graph touch the x-axis. Okay, so we'll look at some graphs. You can have more than one zero. Sometimes there's only one. Sometimes there are none. Okay, so if I look at this one, what are the zeros? It's where the graph touches the x-axis, so it's right here. So this 0 is x equals 2. All right, number 2, this graph, where does it touch the x-axis? Well, it's right here and right here. So this one has two solutions. So x equals -2 or +1. So we can have more than one solution. We could also have, and they didn't give you one, so I'm going to draw one over here for you. If I had a graph that looked like this, okay, this graph would never touch the x-axis. So this one we would say has no solution, okay, or no zeros. All right, so that's on a graph, but like I said, we can also do it algebraically. So the other way we know is when y is equal to 0. So to identify zeros from a equation, we're going to set y equal to 0, and then we're going to solve for x. Okay, remember when they write it as f of x, that's the same thing as y. So I'm going to write this as 0 equals 4x minus 8, and then I'm going to get x by itself. Okay, so add 8 to both sides, and then divide by 4, and I would get x equals 2. So that is my 0. If I were to graph this, okay, 4x minus 8, we can see that it touches the x-axis right here at 2. Okay, so same thing, just a different way to get the same answer. I want you to take a second and try number 10. All right, so pause, do number 10, come back, I'll have the answer for you. Okay, so we should have come up with x equals 9. All right, I set the equation equal to 0, and then I solve for x. Use Desmos or the calculator of your choice to do that math with fractions, and you end up with x equals 9. All right, now there are some equations that you will not be able to do algebraically. So like if I look at number 14, okay, this has an x squared and an x in it, so they can't be combined. So you do not yet know how to solve this equation. You're going to learn later, but right now you don't know. So when we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to graph it and look for the zeros that way. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and type my equation. F of x is the same thing as y, so I'm going to type it as y equals 5x squared plus 5x minus 30. And I'm looking for the places where it touches the x-axis. So my solutions there are -3 and +2. So my zeros would be x equals -3 and +2. All right, so Desmos or some other graphing calculator will be your tool of choice here. Some of you guys still have those scientific calculators that you like to use. That's not going to work here. We need the ability for the calculator to draw the graph and actually see the picture. Okay, so I strongly recommend Desmos. That's what you're going to have to use on your SOL. All right, another thing that we can do with intercepts is we can actually use them to graph, okay? So the x-intercept is on the x-axis, the y-intercept is on the y-axis. So this graph has an x-intercept of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So the x-intercept is 8, 0. And then the y-intercept, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, is 0, 8. Okay? When we are writing intercepts, we're going to write ordered pairs. We're not just going to write the number 8. Okay? We're going to write it as an ordered pair. All right, so that's on a graph. Okay, again, we're going to talk about algebraically, which means given an equation. To find the x-intercept, we're going to make y0. We already did that earlier. To find the y-intercept, we're going to make x0. Okay, so it's always the opposite. If I want the x-intercept, I'm making y0. If I want the y-intercept, I'm making x0. Okay, so let's do an example here. Let's find the x-intercept of this one. That means I'm going to make y0 and then solve for x. Okay, so -6 equals 3x, and then I divide by 3, and I get x equals -2. So my x-intercept, right, is -2, 0. Then for my y-intercept, this time I'm going to make x0. So I have y equals 3 times 0 plus 6. All right, 3 times 0 is 0 plus 6, so y equals 6. So that means my y-intercept, right, is going to be 0, 6, because remember, we're going to write those as ordered pairs. Okay, now, when I like this method is, I'm going to scroll down until I find one, like number 5, all right? Finding x and y intercepts when we have standard form is really easy because I'm going to show you this shortcut. Okay, to find my x-intercept, I'm going to make y 0, so I'm just going to cross out the y. I'm just going to get rid of it because if I make it 0, it's going to become 0 and go away. So now I have 3x equals 12, and then this is a really quick one-step equation. I get x equals 4, so my x-intercept is 4, 0. And then for my y-intercept, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to cross out the x. So I have -2y equals 12. And then really quick one-step equation, y equals -6. So my y-intercept is 0, -6. All right. So when it's in standard form, this actually is like really quick and easy. I kind of like that format. And we can also use that as a shortcut to graph. Okay. So here, okay, we can find each intercept and then just graph the intercept and draw the line between those 2 points. So if I want the x-intercept, I'm going to cross out y, so I get x equals 3. So my x-intercept is 3. All right, if I want the y-intercept, I'm going to cross out x, so I have y equals 3. So I go on the y-axis, 1, 2, 3, boom. And then if I just draw a line between those 2 points, there's my graph. Okay, so this is now a third method that we have learned for graphing. Okay, so I want you to try number 8. All right, pause it here, find your x and y intercept, and then draw the graph. All right, so when I made y0, I got x equals -5. I graphed that on the x-axis. When I made x0, I got y equals 4. Graph that on the y-axis, connect my 2 intercepts, and there is my point, or my line. All right, and that is all we got for 5.4.